Respected dear sisters and brothers. Indeed, you see, like I think many of my friends, and like as the former, I think, president of Ireland, the name was Mary Robinson. Oh, Mary Robinson. So one time described me as a feminist Dalai Lama. So now today, quite sort of, also they're relevant. The reason, according to scientists, biologically, female have more sort of sense of others' pain. You see, two persons, one male, one female, looking one sort of motion picture which shows painful experiences someone. No? When the two persons, you see, seeing that, the physical response, female, much stronger. Then obviously, we all come from our mother. You see, we survived with mother's milk, mother's care. Even animal. The father sometimes, you see, like dog, enjoy himself, then no longer the sense of responsibility to look after a child. But some bird has the two couple. They really take care. They are small, young, small. We human beings also basically like that. So therefore, but you see, milk, father, no milk, only mother. So biologically, the female, you see, they're equipped to feed child. And with that, tremendous love, affection. So I think in human history, most of warrior, actually murderer, most of them male. Now even today, I think we can see butcher, most of them male. So therefore, now time come. We need special effort to promote human compassion, human love. In that respect, female have special role, very important. So, now my talk is
happiness and stress-free life.
Happiness
and stress-free life.
Oh. So happiness, I think every we call sentient being, every sort of sentient or being who have experience of pains and pleasure, including insects, all have the desire to be happy. Now, there are many different levels of that sort of joyfulness or happiness. The animal, including insects, fish, birds, these, know this kind of brain, human brain. So their life entirely based on sensorial level experiences. So because of that, I think their survival very much depends on sensorial level. So many animals, the hearing, the power of hearing, right, and smell are much stronger than we human beings, because their survival depends on these sensorial experiences. Then now we human beings, this unique, special brain, with that we human beings have the language and also the quite sophisticated language. So meantime, this brain also sometimes create more problem, more worry, too much sort of thinking, too much expectation. Then, and thinking about past history and thinking long future, that also is sometimes create more stress, more worry, more fear, more anxiety. Now biologically, this human brain is very marvelous. Same time, warm-heartedness. Our mother provided us how much value of taking care or loving kindness. So now scientists say basic human nature is compassionate, because our life starts that way, and we survived with others' love, care. Without that, we no longer survive. After birth, if mother no pay attention, then within few days we die. Then not only question of a few days or few weeks, but few years, mother take care. So, therefore, biologically, we human being, basic nature is more compassionate. Now important is combine brilliant human brain and the warm-heartedness. These two things combine. Then, you can say the warm-heartedness brings you inner strength, self-confidence. Warm-heartedness also bring honest, truthful. With honesty, truthful, you can carry your work transparently. That brings trust from others. We are social animal. One individual, no matter how powerful, alone cannot survive. In each individual's survival or successful life entirely depend on the community. So now today's world, individual's future depend on humanity. 7 billion humanity. So therefore, now the others is source of your own survival, basis of your own survival, and also source of happiness. If I smile this flower, no response. Human being, smile, response. Isn't it? When I smile or teasing, then their response, very warm sort of expression. I feel very happy. Isn't it? So, human being without warm-heartedness and taking care of others' well-being, that human being never be happy person. And then meantime, this brilliant brain, wonderful, you see, different visions, different sort of the ideas, wonderful. Sometimes this wonderful brain combined with anger, jealousy, then this brilliant brain sometimes create more problem. Exactly now today's world. Many troublemaker, actually, firstly, educated. Secondly, their brain is concerned. I think they are quite sophisticated. They use sophisticated brain like that. So what is lacking? Moral principle, warm-heartedness. So that's just a mere brilliant sort of the mind sometimes creates more suspicion, more distrust. That brings fear, anxiety. So this brain, warm-heartedness combined, then, as I already mentioned, you see, your life truly become something positive with moral principle. Like that. Moral principle, something like self-discipline. So long there are warm-heartedness there, that person never harm other, never create trouble for other. Because, you see, that person respect others' right, and seriously sort of wish their happiness. So such person who have that kind of sort of warm-heartedness, then never create problem for other. Too much self-centered attitude, me, then too much exploitation. No hesitate to create problem to other. These are lack of moral principle and also intelligence, lack of long-sighted way, like that. Once our mind too much disturbed by emotion, then one of the sort of also the important part of our brain is seeing the reality. Too much emotion, we cannot use the complete sort of the energy or ability of brain to analyze. Too much hatred, then your mental attitude become biased. With biased, cannot see the reality. So, in order to utilize human brain properly, you see, your mind, emotion level must be unbiased. Whether you like it or not, your mind remain unbiased. Then try to see the reality. Reality from one angle, you cannot see the reality. We must use our intelligence to see the thing from 3 dimensions or 6 dimensions. Then you get fuller picture of the reality. With that knowledge, then pursue your effort, become realistic. Too much anger, you can't see the reality. Then all sorts of destructive sort of measure or method may use. Result, more disaster. Anything which your sort of objective, which you want to achieve, that must be realistic approach. So in order to use realistic approach, calm mind, very important. Okay. So now that one level of, you see, how to develop happiness, joyfulness, and less stress. That just to explore or utilize basic human nature. The entire 7 billion human beings have the same potential. So, 1,000-year-old India's tradition, the secular, according to Indian understanding, secular means respect all religion and also respect a non-believer. Now, today's world, out of 7 billion, 1 billion non-believer. So this secular ethics, not based on religion, if we pursue that way, it covers entire sort of 7 billion human beings. This is fundamental level. Then all religion, we human creation, we created. So human, as I mentioned earlier, basic nature, human being, compassionate, and compassion give us peace, happiness, satisfaction. Therefore, all religion of human being carry the message of love. In religious field, theistic religion, non-theistic religion, non-theistic religion, both, you see, the main message is love. Now, according to theistic religion, mainly Judeo-Christian tradition and Islam, and some Hindu, but basically, this Judeo-Christian, Islam, these tradition which develop in Middle East, the concept of God, creator, God as a creator. And that also very powerful, very good. You see, nobody say God as a sort of angry God. Nobody say that. God, infinite love. So we all children of such Father, infinite love. So that gives us, I think, sort of forceful sort of concept. We should be compassionate because our Father, God, is infinite love. And the entire 7 billion human beings are children of same Father, same God. Wonderful. Then non-theistic religion, I want to have some more discussions, interaction. So briefly, then non-theistic religion, such as one part of Sanghasim, over 3,000 years in this country, developed Sangha philosophy, and then Jainism. Then after that, Buddhism. These three Indian traditions, you see, consider a life, no beginning. Whether you call it soul or self no beginning. So therefore, concept of rebirth, or concept of karma now come. So no creator, our life, no beginning. So that's non-theistic religious tradition. And within that, the Jainism and Sankhyaism, say, have the view of independent self. You call Atma, Atma. So beside this physical and mind, there is some independent, permanent oneness. That is Atma. Then only Buddha Dharma, I'll say, no such independent, absolute self. The tradition, according, who believe the Atma, then Buddhist philosophy is nihilism. No creator, no God, and no independent self or Atma. But then Buddhism, Anatma theory. And firstly, Buddha taught Anatma theory. Then eventually, of course, Pali tradition also, you see, carry the message of Anatma. And then Sanskrit tradition, particularly Sanskrit tradition, you see there are a lot of argument between the concept of Atma and Anatma. The purpose or reason of Anatma theory is try to tackle our emotion. One of my friend, one American, Kazakh community, Aaron Beck. When I first met him, his age already 84. Now his age, I think, over 100 years. A wonderful person, not a religious person, but I think scientist, and mainly his sort of experiences come from, he deal with patient who too much stress due to anger. So few decades he deal such sort of person, troubled-minded people. Then he concluded, when person too much anger and distress, and then the object which they feel angry, the object appears very negative. But in reality, actually 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. Now this is his sort of, I said, the conclusion as a result of long period sort of work. This exactly Indian master Nagarjuna exactly mentioned that. The very purpose of no Atma, self is mere designated. And then furthermore, nothing independently exists. Nothing exists as appears. So that understanding, now the direct antidote, the very basis of exaggeration, mental projection. So therefore, the Anatma theory, just theory, but very relevant to tackle these emotion, which actually much cause of exaggeration, right? Like that. Now, quantum physics, quite similar that of Nalanda school of thought, one Chitta Mantra school of thought, another Madhyamika school of thought. You see, things does not exist as appears. Things never they exist objectively, but observer, entirely depend observer. Observer there, things there. Observer no longer, things no longer there. That exactly the Chitta Mantra's philosophy mentioned that. So these things, you see, in order to tackle our emotion, destructive emotion, because destructive emotion entirely based on appearances. Are they because the opposing antidote of that not remain as appears, but go deeper level. Then nothing exists by objectively, by independently. So now here I also have some experience. I really feel a student of Nagarjuna. So his theory, nothing independently exists. You see, that really very, very helpful to reduce this because of the strengthening of negative emotion. So that's one way, you see, to bring inner peace, happiness, joyfulness. So for that, now we need a study. Therefore, I usually describe we are the follower of Nalanda tradition, mainly like Nagarjuna, Arya Asanga, and so on. You see, these ancient Indian sort of thinkers, philosophers, they really investigate about nature of emotion. Once they realize the very nature of the emotion, destructive emotion, which is distorted the reality, right? Distorted reality. So try to explain the very nature of the reality. This is one thing, wisdom side. Then I think Sanskrit word Ubaya and Prajna. This is Prajna side. Now the Ubaya side, like Shantadeva's book, really excellent to explain. Self-centered attitude is the key factor to create a lot of anxiety, a lot of negative emotions such as anger, all these things. So the antidote of that from Ubaya side is the metta side. Ubaya or metta side is, you see, the altruism. As I mentioned earlier, the wisdom side exploit because I utilize our brain, our intelligence. Then method side exploit our warm-heartedness. So the altruism, others' well-being, more important than your own well-being. Through this practice, even you see some practice of give and take. Take others' pain, others' suffering. Give your own sort of certain sort of the positive things, give them mentally. Practice that, meditate on that. That very helpful, you see, to strengthening altruism and reduce the self-centered attitude. So because of that, now we usually, you see, when we refer other sentient being, we usually say mother sentient being, entire sentient being. You see, it's actually, you see, very basis of your own well-being. When we talk about limitless sentient being, then other galaxies are no direct sort of connection. Only this galaxy, and within the galaxy, this solar sort of system, and within that, only this planet. Within this planet, the limitless insects, fish, animals, no language, we cannot communicate. Only prayer. So then finally, when we concern, we are training the sense of concern of well-being of entire mother sentient being, then practical level is 7 billion human beings on this planet. So we have the language, we have the same potential as I mentioned earlier. So, you see, in practical level, you see, they try to share one's own experience and these views to human brothers, sisters. That is now only possibility. No other sentient being difficult like that. So that's Buddhism in general, particularly Nalanda tradition, how to tackle destructive emotion, then how to strengthening warm-heartedness. That brings, you see, in mental level, emotional level, complete peace. Even though you're surrounded some problems, but you have the ability to keep peace. Okay, like that. So that is, I think, a few levels. First level, secular ethics. Then second level, religion, irrespective whether theistic or non-theistic, all carry a message of love. Then another sort of level, a Buddhist concept, no independent self, because selfish very much related with that. And anger, all these related with that. So that is just my report, how to sort of bring happiness and less stress, like that. Now some questions and answer.
This is Jia Jain, Your Holiness. I wanted to ask you that sometimes we take decisions and we feel they are okay because it is for what we believe to be the greater good. Is that true, or is it just a way of easing our conscience?
I think here, firstly, the goal which you want, you see, that is something positive to other, something beneficial to other. That is important, not harming other. That is goal. You should think. Your thinking is really compassionate thinking or not. Number one. Number two, method to achieve that, as I mentioned earlier, we should follow to achieve that good goal, but method should be realistic. So think. So now, for example, I always talk the importance of secular ethics. I am Buddhist. As I already mentioned, I practice these things. I really, have the experience transform about my emotion through this Buddhist practice. But meantime, I never state Buddhism is best. The different people, different mental disposition, judging their own way of thinking, their own mental disposition. Like medicine, you cannot say one medicine, this is best medicine. You cannot say. Judging individual patient, his or her illness and physical condition, judging all these factors, then can describe this medicine is best for you. So similarly, different mental disposition, so you cannot say one religion is best. I never state Buddhism is best. For me, Buddhism is best. But different people, different mental disposition, then according to their own mental disposition, they should choose the suitable sort of religion. That's much effective, much better. So like that, goal is perfect, good. You after analyze, that's very good, beneficial to other. And then you should analyze method, more realistic, isn't it? Like I feel the Iraq war, the President Bush, his motivation is good, goal is good, but method wrong. Like that. That I feel, yes, okay. I feel possible on the basis of basic human nature, as I mentioned earlier, more compassionate. Anger is not, I think, basic, of course, part of our nature of our mind or our emotion, but the basic nature is more compassionate. That is the sort of basis. Then use human intelligence properly. What's the value of anger? What's the value of jealousy or frustration? Then you will realize, oh, anger is no good. On the other hand, compassion, tolerance, forgiveness, these things really antidote of this destructive emotion. Use our intelligence. Then you can change. Okay. I think animal without this brain, you cannot do that. We human being, this intelligence, we have the ability to change some our emotion. There was a lesson or some emotion. The emotion, like you see, the compassion and anger is a contradictory each other. So therefore, logically, the contradictory sort of emotion, another emotion increase, then other emotion reduce. And then here, important thing is, all destructive emotion very much related with short-sighted and narrow-minded. The positive emotion all have the very sound basis. Therefore, the destructive emotion come spontaneously, but not much sound-based. The positive emotion we can train. The religious word, we can meditate on it. We cannot meditate on anger. We can meditate on compassion. So, the familiarize. Anger come. Not much familiarize.
Without familiarization.
But positive emotion, firstly, the hearing, some knowledge from hearing. Now this, I think, Indian tradition. The understanding on first level is hearing. Then that point you already sort of heard. Now think, analyze. That we call vipassana. And in order to carry vipassana properly, you see, you also, there's a single-pointed mind there. Combined with single-pointed mind, that is shamatha, and analytical sort of because of the analyzation, that is vipassana. Combine that, the positive emotion, then much sort of familiarize, bring conviction. On the second level of understanding, through analyze or even through experiment, then your understanding is very deep, and that brings conviction. Then that is second level. Then familiarize that conviction day by day, month by month, year by year. Decades to decades. Even too long. According to secular sort of way, even something different. We Buddhist, kasati, limitless 3 eons bare. Ka.
3 countless years.
Love that.
In Buddhist texts, we mention working for enlightenment for over 3 countless eons.
So that's, I think, too long. Too long. So therefore, now, decade by decade, familiarize these things. Then real effect come. So the change or transformation of our emotion, very possible. Then this method is not just a prayer, not just a faith, but analyze. Then the real transformation of our emotion, very possible. That much I also have some experience. Now over 50, 60 years, I seriously sort of thinking, firstly learning, secondly analyze, including scientific sort of cause of the finding, combine, like quantum physics. And as I already mentioned, emotions such as anger is very much sort of based on mental projection, like that. So I really now notice the Nalanda tradition. Buddha himself, you see, told us, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So some Nalanda master like Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, now they actually rejected some Buddha's own teaching, Buddha's own sort of sutra. They say, if you accept this sutra literally, that goes against reason. So we must reject that. That's, I think, so therefore, I usually is describing Buddha Shakyamuni 2,600 years ago. Buddha Shakyamuni was one aspect of that person, is great thinker, great philosopher. He taught quantum physics in his teaching. The Sanskrit tradition, he clearly mentioned about quantum physics. Then one, you see, he emphasizes experiment or research. Therefore, I consider him, one aspect of that person is ancient Indian scientist, like that. So therefore, the reasoning, not just faith on quotation, no. Even Buddha's own sort of word, we must analyze. If it goes against reason, then we have the liberty to reject. So like that. So therefore, you see these kasota. So familiarize, then gradually change our emotion, like that. So we change our emotion, we must utilize fully about our intelligence. That is very important. Okay, next question.
How to get the strength when your loved one passes away? Specifically from Alka, how to cope up with the loss of a mother?
Firstly, as I mentioned earlier, we should be realistic. So then, any living thing, including flowers and our body, is there is beginning, there is end. Quite logical. So there is birth, there is death. Come. So death is part of our life. You see, mentally, death is part of our life. Sooner or later it will come. That mental attitude, very helpful. Actual sort of death come. Then you already sort of accepted this part of our life. Number one. Then some of your close friend passed away. Then instead of worry, sadness, you see, you should develop determination. Now I have the responsibility to fulfill the late person's wish. When my tutor passed away, usually I consider my tutor like solid rock. I can lean on it. When my tutor, Ling Rinpoche, and passed away, then now I lost that. Very sad. But I try to translate that sadness to bring the source of my determination. Now my tutor no longer there. Now I have the responsibility to fulfill his wish. So that sadness translates because of further determination or willpower. So that you can do. Your dear friend or husband or wife like that, or children or parent, you should think that way. Just sad, worry, sad. If the late person, some way to know that, then that so late your friend also feel more worry. But if you, of course, sadness there, but you see that transform the addition of your determination, your sort of was a pledge. I will fulfill my late friend's wish. Then that the late person, if way to know, then feel happy. My friend now really carry the determination to fulfill my wish. Okay, thinking that line. Okay, next question.
How do you decide which path to take? The easy path with assured success, or a path which is very risky and you don't know what's going to be the end?
That's difficult to say. But again here, as I mentioned earlier, analyze. Thoroughly analyze and use our wisdom fully. Before take decision, no hurry. If there is time, of course. If mad dog coming, then not much time to analyze. you have to protect yourself, of course. So if there's time, there's analyze. That's important. Then long period, because of that, quiet because of that. No matter how long it takes, analyze, and also ask your friend, your trusted friend, not artificial friend. Then, once you decide, then you, no hesitation, follow that. I usually do that, particularly like 1959, when serious sort of situation come. I ask, including my sweeper, what to do. Listen their view. And of course, officials also ask. I never sort of took the decision immediately. I ask. Then I myself used to analyze. Then we also have one method, divination. And also some mysterious things. We have oracles. So ask oracle. So then finally, a certain sort of decision, I sort of decide, then no hesitation, go. Single-pointed mind. So that's important. After sort of decide the decision, still you keep or doubt, or then difficult. Next question.
Why do innocent and good people suffer?
Unfortunately, it is true. Now, billions of poor people, I think, completely neglected by those people who have some sort of means to help these people. Look, Middle East, like Yemen, Syria, and also some African states. Even within this country, some very, very poor people there. So this clearly indicates we are lacking moral principle based on compassion and also short-sighted, like that. So therefore, this is quite, now education. Now existing education system is brought from West, mainly education in this country is introduced by British. So in the West, I think modern education started, perhaps, I'm not an expert historian, but it seems to me around 200 years. Before that, monastery or religious group, nunnery, they take care about education. In India also, and previously, this monastery carried the education also. So eventually, science developed, technology developed. So then it became clear we need separate education institution. So at that time, I think moral ethics carried by monastery or nunnery, and the newly developed education sort of institution then look after science, technology, and economy in these fields. So perhaps 200 years ago, at that time, maybe quite well balanced. And then gradually the influence of religion reduces. We can see in America, or in Europe also, there's a big monastery now empty. No monk, no nuns, like that. So the interest or religion, I think, less and less. So now, separate education institution alone now should take the responsibility about, you see, the moral ethics, moral principle, ethics. So, I always now appealing, now the existing so-called modern education should include the education about our inner value. That is now, as I already mentioned, modern education only care of our brain, not heart, not warm-heartedness. Now, these days I describing the hygiene of physical, actually in our education field, hygiene of physical, their education about. Now, we need hygiene of emotion. Because now, very healthy body, too much emotion, not good. And eventually suicide come, isn't it? And sometimes teasing to ladies is a beautiful face, but angry face no longer any beauty, isn't it? So therefore, real beauty is inner beauty, not some kind of cosmetic way. Something that is very sort of superficial. So the real beauty is inner beauty. I have one story. Usually I'm mentioning sometimes. You see, in early 60s, one monk official, you see, very, very trusted, wonderful, really devoted, dedicated sort of official. So after we reached India, then he disrobed. Then I teased him, "Oh, your wife, not so sort of attractive." I teased him. And his response is, external appearance not because of the attractive, but internal beauty is very good. So then I have no further argument with him. So now hygiene of emotion bring inner peace. The inner peace there, loving kindness there, the beauty, beautiful face automatically come. So therefore, now modern education very much oriented about a material value. Material value related with sensorial experiences, as I mentioned before. Animal also is the same experience. Now we have this intelligence. So therefore, our education should deal our intelligence or this deeper level of emotion. And that not based on religious faith, according Indian tradition, secular way. So, existing modern education should include education about our inner value. In that respect, these days, now I think these years, I sort of stressing. So, ancient Indian knowledge about our emotion and how to tackle this emotion, which I already mentioned, these things come from Indian tradition. Even before Buddha come, this country, they practice tradition of shamatha, a tradition of vipassana, already there. Buddha himself, product of that Indian tradition. Indian tradition, I think, over 3,000 years. So therefore, these ancient Indian tradition, I think not only ancient one, but very relevant to today's world. So now, there's no other country difficult, but this country, simply modern education plus ancient your knowledge about inner world, about mind, about emotion. Not considered as a part of religion, but considered as a part of academic subject. The healthy body plus healthy mind. So hygiene of physical, similarly hygiene of emotion. Now you have all these material over 1,000 years there. Now this must now combine with modern education, including science. Now scientists also now have a lot of agreement with ancient Indian thought. These days I sort of publicly mentioning the Western psychology, compare ancient Indian psychology, then modern psychology looks like kindergarten level. Very kasoda primary way. Go. Goma. Then Indian sort of psychology, highly developed. So these, and with that, 1,000-year-old ahimsa. Ahimsa is act of karuna. This country, over 3,000 years, the message of ahimsa, message of karuna there. With that, a secular concept, not imposing one's own faith on other. No. Complete freedom of religious freedom and respect to all religion. And I think today India is the really example. Different religious tradition can live together. This is really wonderful. Particularly at the time now, conflict in the name of religion, now they are very sad. In conflict Shia and Sunni, same Guru, as Muhammad, same Quran, but then fighting, killing. And Christian, even the Christian in Northern Ireland, I have been a few occasions there, Catholic, Protestant. See, they follow of same Jesus Christ, same Bible, but you say like that. So these things, when we saw these things, then I really feel greatness of India's tradition, religious harmony. And the Sikhism. Oh, here some Sikh, Sataji, oh yes, yeah. I really admire Guru Nanak. You see, he, I think, Hindu background, but took pilgrimage to Mecca. And in Sikhism, not much sort of say about what's the caste system. Wonderful. So, half joke, half teasing, this Sadaji looks very orthodox, but your tradition very liberal. So, India's sort of, I think, the education about how to tackle our emotion, how to tackle our mind, like shamatha, vipassana, these things, not only ancient one, but today's world, very much relevant. Now, strictly secular way, not context of religion. Right? Oh, that's important. So I think India, I feel, can make certain contribution for world peace, dealing emotion. World peace will never carry by weapon, only peace of mind. In that matter, India's tradition dealing with destructive emotion and bring inner peace. Now that's the ultimate source of world peace. So now I think we human beings, I think generally human beings, I think fathom about violence. Look, Iraq crisis about to start, the demonstration against violence or war from Australia and Europe and up to America. Millions of people come out, express against war. So I think I'm one of the admirer of European Union. And through centuries, France and Germany killing each other, fighting war. But then, after Second World War, under the leadership of de Gaulle, under the leadership of Adenauer, they developed a European Union. Through hundreds of years, you see, enemy, but new circumstances, common interest is more important. So then eventually European Union developed. Look, India also. It's East India, South India, West India, North India. You see, different language, different script even. Some Tamil people say their language is better than Hindi. But doesn't matter. You see, people, different language, different script, but live Indian Union. Wonderful, really wonderful. I think 2 years ago in East India, because of Manipur somewhere, Manipur, on meeting with some media people, one asked me about the independence of Manipur. Then I mentioned India, over 1 billion population, the different places, different culture, different language, but common interest, common benefit, much better remain union. I mentioned that. So with this sort of belief, even you see our own case, Tibet cause, 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, according to historian, Tibet, independent country, no question. 3 empire, Chinese empire, Tibetan empire, Mongol empire, very equal. But now, the 20th century and 21st century, I think other countries are now thinking union or common interest. So we also should think common interest. So therefore, around mid-70s, we decided not seeking separation or independence, remain within the People's Republic of China. Meantime, we should have the right to preserve our own culture, our own language, and particularly our sort of Buddhist tradition. It's really, now I realize Buddhism comes from India, but now I think genuine Buddhist sort of tradition we kept, non-Indian, we Tibetan kept all these Nalanda masters they taught. So now China, about 400 million Buddhists. Many Buddhists now really have this sort of the recognition. Tibetan Buddhism is genuine Nalanda tradition, authentic Nalanda tradition. So a number of Chinese now following or showing interest study Tibetan Buddhism. And some of them, in order to learn Tibetan Buddhism, they're also showing interest to learn Tibetan language. Like that. So, in a money matter, we can ask China, since we remain people from China, bring more money, more money, more money. That's their responsibility in economy field. You see, they have sort of also the responsibility, and they have the potential to help material development, constructions, all these things. The spiritual side, we can help them. Truly. And China, historically Buddhist country, the disciple of Indian tradition, truly. So therefore, you see, remain in union. I feel that. So therefore, now if I always is telling the European Union, that kind of union eventually should develop in Africa, African Union. Then South American Union. If Africa too big, whole Africa Union, for the time being difficult, then you can, you see, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, or South, East and West, like that. Some kind of union, I think, very important to develop. Then these internal conflict, and within the country, some militant thinking, as through education, should develop broad-minded or common interest. Then these things, I think African states, they spend a lot of money for weapon creation. Weapons responsibility is create killing, violence. Eventually whole world should be demilitarized world. You see, any problem which due to human beings sort of different views, different sort of interest, that is the source of violence or war. That cannot solve by weapon. Try to use force, then counter-violence automatically comes. Then that violence control our physical, cannot control our mind. Only dialogue or respect their interest and try to solve the solution through mutually agreeable solution. That's the only way. So therefore, I describing this 21st century should be century of dialogue. Whenever some disagreement, potential of violence come, dialogue. So then, eventually, I think step by step. Firstly, I think a nuclear weapon should free nuclear weapon. Some time ago, you see, in Italy, a Nobel laureate meeting, I think 2 years ago, a meeting take place. I also there. Then I mentioned there, now we should have some kind of timetable. Within 2 years or 3-4 years, world should be free of nuclear weapon. Once we set a timetable, then worldwide movement to achieve that, then we can implement just express world-free nuclear weapon. Just express that. You see, not much sort of the effect. So I mentioned that, but nothing happened. So that's the first sort of step. Then gradually, also the offensive weapon should eliminate. Then you see, as a human society, some mischievous people always there. So maybe the mobile small force, wherever need, can shift. And then eventually, that also, you see, can be more as a multi-nations force like that. It's possible. So therefore, these are sort of visions. I think many of you, may agree. So we need some kind of vision. We have this brain, have the ability to think or to create visions. Then, step by step, with patience, with determination, can achieve, not immediately. This achievement through prayer, I don't think achieve. We, at least 3,000 years, including Buddhists, more than 2,000 years, we pray to three Ranas, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But sometimes we do not know what's Dharma. Dharma means action, motivation. So change comes through change our emotion, change our behavior, then we achieve Buddhahood, not just a prayer. So Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Dharmam Shanam Gacchami, Sangham Shanam Gacchami. Without knowing what is Dharma, then useless to say Dharmam Shanam Gacchami. We should know mainly Nirodha, cessation of suffering. Then the method to achieve that, these two things are genuine, real Dharma. That must develop here, not just prayer. So I think several thousand years, we human beings pray. I think not satisfied result come. So depend on our action. You see, sometimes you see like Shia brothers, sisters, and Sunni brothers, sisters. You see, both pray to Allah, 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 Allah. But then I think sometimes I jokingly, you see, telling some sort of people, Allah may confuse the Shia side, pray to him, peace, or to win. The Sunni side also pray to Allah, and Allah, how to send His blessing to Shia side or the Sunni side. Difficult. So Christian and Muslim, some conflict. I think God difficult to send His blessing this side or that side. So truly, I believe, you see, if Buddha, Jesus Christ, Muhammad come and we ask, bring peace on this planet, then I think definitely Buddha and Jesus Christ and Muhammad certainly will say, who creates violence? Not by God, but we human being. So now human beings have the responsibility to bring peace. We create a lot of violence. Meantime, pray to God is illogical. Okay. Now, last question.
Yes. Are all my actions coming from selfishness? Do they have a selfish purpose? Can you just wave? Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Everything that we do for others, don't we do it for ourselves at the very basis?
Best way to achieve happy individual, show other more, positive attitude. That's the Shantadeva's book, the 6th chapter, particularly now this point is 8th chapter. Very detailed argument mentioned here. So these days I use, it is by nature, taking care of yourself. So that kind of so selfish should be wise selfish rather than foolish selfish. Take care of yourself and only think of yourself is foolish. We are a social animal. Now today's world, 7 billion human beings interrelated. East depend west, west depend east, similarly north and south, like that. So this reality, just thinking oneself, don't care about other, is unrealistic. Individual level, a family level also, if you take only your own wish, your own desire, don't care about other, then if you married person, then eventually you have to face divorce. So you see, you have to sort of take care about others' feeling, others' views. So that sort of bigger, firstly individual. The best way to take care about individual, you should take care about your family. Your family's best interest is your family should take care about your community. I was told, my friend, the suicide rate in city much higher than a countryside. The reason very clear. In countryside, farmers, they have stronger sense of community there. One family, some problem, they always feel, I can ask this family, that family. Occasionally they work together. So sense of community much stronger. Then big city, you may have big salary, but your best friend is money, not human being. So therefore, some real sort of problems happen. You feel helpless, lonely. So I myself also, you see, as a practitioner of bodhicitta, altruism, I always consider 7 billion human beings are my brothers, sisters. So with this feeling, wherever I go, whenever I meet people, I always feel very close. If I emphasize or stress, I am Buddhist, I am Dalai Lama, or His Holiness, 14th, grade 14th Dalai Lama. If I emphasize that, then out of 7 billion human beings, only one Dalai Lama, then I feel lonely. When I stress, I am one of the 7 billion human beings, then plenty of brothers, sisters. So no feeling of loneliness, like that. So therefore, that also one example. Think other, you get maximum benefit. Think oneself, selfish, narrow-minded, then a lot of stress, a lot of fear, and loneliness feeling come. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Those people who have some sort of what's today, genuine interest, then try to implement as much as you can. And in order to increase the enthusiasm, the implementation about these things, you should study, you should read ancient Indian text. Very important. So then, your experience, when you gain some experience, try to share with your friend. That is the way to transform our society. The initiative must start from individual. Then one individual share with 10 people. Each 10 people share their friends. That means 100 people. Then 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. That's the way to transform our society's sort of certain way of thinking. With certain sort of inner value, then all your professions can be much useful, positive way. Certainly reduce cheating other people, bully other people, like that. So that way, I think eventually our long-term aim is we should create compassionate humanity. Firstly, India should lead, because this knowledge already part of your knowledge. Now pay more attention. So this country, I think most populated democratic country in modern time. Because of that, in the concept of ahimsa, these things, India comparatively much sort of stable, much peaceful. So therefore, you can make certain significant contribution for world peace, like that. So now think, you should sort of develop self-confidence. Or should not develop pride or look down other, not that way, but some kind of self-confidence. We have rich cultural heritage. We have the potential to create inner peace, through inner peace, world peace. So we have the opportunity, we have the moral responsibility to serve world peace, not just lip service, but through action. Thank you.